My guest today emerged as a unique brand of comedian in Australia in 2007, blending sharp wit in his stand-up comedy with relatable tales. He brings humour to the psychologically absurd and his fascinating takes on trauma dumping and the morbid. This mastermind is behind one of Australia's most unexpected and entertaining true crime comedy walking tours across the country. Welcome to the podcast, Shayne Hunter.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me. What a nice intro.
You like that?
It's mastermind. Whoa.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. So where did you grow up and a little bit about your life in the early days?
Oh, yeah, well, I grew up in Redcliffe and my grandmother was a big part in raising me. My parents were like, you know, nice people, but like emotionally immature. I was dyslexic and probably ADD and, you know, touched what the kids call neurodivergent, which is an interesting term. And yeah, and I've actually been accused of being high-functioning autistic. So I actually got tested as an adult to see if I have it, but actually found out that I'm actually low-functioning neurotypical. So I'm bad with both people and numbers. That was a joke. Don't worry, mate.
Yeah, because I'm trying to work that one out.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was
I'm ready.
It was a play on, because people say neurodivergent, right?
Yeah.
And like no one ever has a personality disorder.
Yeah, because I'm like neurotypical. Hang on. Low functioning neurotypical.
Well, because you got high functioning autism, low functioning neurotypical.
Yes.
But yeah, so I was dyslexic, right? So I wasn't great at school. And like, obviously, I also think it's a dumb institution and it sucks, right? It's, you know, you might as well just call them indoctrination centers or whatever. And, you know, maybe that's too cynical or dismissive, but that's what I'm like. So I sucked at it, and then all I could do was sort of entertain myself and, you know, joke around with other kids. I was a class clown. And then when I saw like Billy Connolly as a kid or Seinfeld as a kid, I was like, what are they doing? What is that? I want that, because that feels like the funnest, most magical. It feels magical what they were doing. And I wanted to be close to whatever that was. And you know, and obviously there was bit of drama in my childhood, like nothing, you know, luckily I wasn't sexually assaulted or any horrible shit like that, but my mom's temperament was unstable or whatever. She had a bit of issues. And so it was a great, also with ADD, it's a cliche of my generation, a trauma dump, right? One of the jokes I say about ADD is, you know, to what degree is that a genetic thing versus just growing up in a crazy environment? So one example is my mom, she disagrees with this, but she thinks I misinterpreted what she said. I thought she said when I was like 9 or something that she was going to kill me. She was going to kill herself and then not leave me and my sister around, right? So thinking like she was going to kill us as well. And then no one debriefs me about that. And then you just have to go to school the next day and then pay attention to like, whoa, what's your times table, you know? And it's like, no wonder I had a hard time spelling and stuff. It's like, okay, Shane, can you stand out the word dissociate? All right. Shane, maths question. If your mum kills herself, you and your sister, how many people are left in the family? You know, pay attention, right? So anyway, so that's how I got into comedy.
And that's the end of the podcast, because
Thank you
he's
very
just
much.
literally answered most of my questions in his intro.
Great. I'm glad. Good to be efficient.
Okay, I have so much to say there. So, I agree with you. School was not for me. My brain was never in the classroom. So it was never on what the teacher was saying. It was, what's that guy doing with his ruler over there? Or what's that kid doing walking past the classroom? You know, I would like the teacher. I have no problem with the teacher. But what they're saying, I can be staring at them and smiling, like behaving, but I'm not listening to you, dude. It was just not within me.
Well, they're boring as shit, right? So I do stand-up comedy, right? So the expectation is that it's up to me to hold the audience's attention.
Yeah.
And if I don't and they go on their phone or they're bored shitless, that's on me.
Yeah.
But why in school why is it on the kid? Like, they're kids.
They're kids.
That should be on the adult to not be boring. Go do some wiggle shit.
So I would say that's the pressure the teachers have within the guidelines of what they've got to teach. And that's half the problem. You know, what's the percentage of what you learn at school in reality you've used in life?
Well, I couldn't quantify it because I didn't pay attention to that class to be able to
So
do
did you learn
percentages,
how to
but
pay bills?
a conflict.
Yeah,
Did you
perfect.
learn how to deal with people emotionally manipulating you? Did you ever deal with what feels meaningful and has purpose in life?
Yeah.
Did you ever, like, I remember you'd just be there going, literally chanting
Yeah.
5 times 5 is 25.
Yeah.
What is that? That is just anesthetizing
Yep.
shit, right?
Ti-ta, ti-ti-ta.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sa.
And you're like, what? I don't even know what that is.
Everybody knows it, but we don't use it.
Well, I actually do use it on a daily basis.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Can you use it now? Go.
Yeah, well, whenever, whenever I go, I'm 36, I haven't managed my finances well to this point. I'm seemingly will never be able to own a home. And then I stop and I go, remember your training, Shayne. Ta, ta. And then I'm like, I'm fine. I'm
nailed
I'm
life.
sorted. Thanks for preparing me. Yeah, no, it wasn't, it sounds conspiratorial. And you got to be wary of like narratives that, human beings, we have a tendency to take our position and make it righteous or virtuous.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely right about this. And that,
I agree.
like the Prussian, it came from Prussia, right? Which was this like militaristic state that it's gone now. But, they were the ones that came up with like schools to create an army or whatever and factory workers.
Was it not the Catholics?
No, I think
Bible?
Catholics, they developed like unis. I think they developed like higher education,
Yeah.
the kind of uni atmosphere.
Yeah, so it was the Prussians who we're going to lay
The blame.
Mm.
So next, kids, if there's any kids watching, stand up and go, I'm not Prussian. I'm not doing it.
And I will also say the one subject that I did enjoy was law, and that didn't come in till grade 11 and 12. And
Right.
I can actually, I have retained some pretty good
'Cause you
information.
gave a fuck.
I gave a fuck. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it was.
Well, that's the thing. School doesn't teach you to give a fuck, right?
Yeah.
And also, my suggestion would be, like, what they should do, particularly when people are like, they shouldn't have let my generation go to uni because now we have these stupid debts.
Yeah.
For
Did you go to university?
For like a little bit, but I still got a big debt from it.
Yeah.
And then, but I think what they should do is they should get the kids to go to the workplaces where they would want to go. Stand in there for 2 weeks, just quietly watching.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to kill themselves, then maybe study it.
So
Then
that's
invest
called
the
work
6 years.
experience. Did you not do work experience? Or was it just a bludge? For me, it was a bludge. I chose an
Okay.
aged care home,
Okay.
right? Loved it because I love old people. I love kids and I love old people. And then the second one I did was a kindergarten, and they made me do stuff. I wasn't real happy about that. I actually had to do things.
All right.
I was hoping for blood.
You got to choose? From what did you get to choose, though?
Anything.
Okay.
And they're the two I chose. Love
Wow.
the aged care. I would not make a great teacher. I say to you, I love children, but I could not be an educator. I could not have.
Well, maybe you could be an educator in this utopian education system we're talking about.
Right, let's change it.
Yeah.
Let's mix it up. Let's teach people how responsibility sucks as an adult. They don't know. They just want to finish school. They want to get out.
Yeah, well, does it suck, or is it just we're not giving schools how to cope with it?
Yeah. So you grew up in Redcliffe, so why the hate on Logan? I was watching some of your videos and your Logan is my Ipswich.
Oh yeah. Well, like to me they're the same, but
So Brisbaneites, if you know, you know.
I guess it's fun to punch down, and I feel like they're too weak to fight back. It's like probably a lazy comedic trope or whatever. But
everyone gets
I
it.
think in the clip, that you're talking about, I was trying to talk about like people making decisions on who they're attracted to based on their trauma or whatever.
Yes.
And that those decisions can be some of the things that create the next generation of poverty.
Yeah.
And so a good example of a place where there's poverty is those places.
Yeah. Well, look, it gets a laugh, huh? And Ipswich, like I said, your Logan is the Ipswich.
It gets a laugh,
Having said that, I did live in Ipswich, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Probably twice
Oh,
in my
well, I'm
life.
leaving. No, yeah. No, there's nothing wrong with those places or those people.
No, absolutely not. It's just
Except
funny.
for
And
all
people
the
get
crime
it.
and murder and drugs. But, like, it's probably less evil than, like, Canberra or, like, whatever human sacrifice is going on underneath the chambers of Parliament or whatever.
Yeah, or in Vatican City.
Yeah.
Wonder what's going on in there.
Fucking,
I've been behind the scenes in the Vatican City.
What do you mean? Was it like a Truman Show?
So it was weird. So I would have been like 24, and one of my best friend's mum is severely Catholic, and
I felt like you were going to say severely disabled, but then your answer was probably worse. But yeah.
or more accurate.
More accurate.
Yeah. So I went to this little religious shop and bought these empty vials, like with Mary praying on the front.
Okay.
And I went into Vatican City. So have you been?
No,
Rome?
I've never been to the Vatican City.
Yeah. So
as far as I'm aware, I might have been drugged and taken there once.
Love Rome. Anyway, so I went in there and my husband wasn't allowed in because his arms or legs weren't covered or something like that, but mine were. And so I was able to enter.
Wow.
And in I go, and then the font for the holy water was empty, like this massive font, empty. And I was like, oh, this is bullshit. I've come from Brisbane to Rome. I've got these vials that I've paid €2 for each. I want some holy water. So I went up to one of the priests that was just there and I was like, excuse me, have you got any holy water? Because I'm thinking, you could bless it, dude. You could stand there and bless it, surely. Anyway, he's like, oh, is it empty? Come with me. And then he takes me and I felt like I was in like, it was not Angels and Demons. What's the other Dan Brown book?
I don't know.
Whatever that other one was.
Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code. And I felt like I was in something like that because we went through all these dark alleyways out the back. It was actually really surreal. And then he just got these bottles that he had lined up and then filled my little vials. And then off I went. I didn't even look around the chapel.
Wow.
I was just there for the holy water. But my beef with the church is the money they've got. That's my beef.
Well, what do they say? The first and last Christian died on the cross, right?
Can you, if that's a joke, can you just explain to me?
Oh, it's not a joke. It's just like they just are saying whether you believe Jesus existed or not, the idea of Jesus is that he was the only one living up to the standard that represents the good side of Christianity. So the first and last Christian
there you go.
died on the cross.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Look, I do love religion. I do miss going to church and I miss singing the songs. I love to sing those songs. Like they get me right in the guts. Yeah. But it's just the content.
Classic
I can't do it. It is classic
religious karaoke. I think it would be good if we had some sort of religion, but yeah.
But it doesn't need to be about God. Can't it just be about, and like, I don't want to get all flowery and airy-fairy and like love, free peace, love. But at the end of the day.
Well, I think that God or all religions or wisdom traditions or philosophies or whatever, they attempt to create a set of hierarchies that like some values are higher than another hierarchy, right? And so, that's what, a pyramid like that just by maths just creates a pyramid structure, right?
Pyramid scheme. For sure.
Well, the idea that at the very top of would be like truth is better than lies, right?
In most cases.
Well, that's debatable. So if it's like someone's wedding day and they're like, do I look beautiful? And they just happen to be, you don't go, no matter what you do, you'll never be beautiful. You're fucking ugly. You're a pig. Right.
But you would say you've got like spinach in your teeth.
Yes. Right. So it's true. There's a form of truth that is higher than the literal truth that I understand the context of my friend getting married that I'll go, you look wonderful,
Yeah.
And that is true. So there's like different hierarchies of truth as well, right? And so the idea of religion, well, while they say Jesus is the King of Kings, it's like it's the top of the hierarchy of all possible hierarchies. So that story, the myth of it depicts someone who's meant to be like the top of every hierarchy possible. You know what I mean? And so,
but it also religion, like as a man, this is a question I'd love to ask you. It's a very sexist. The Bible's very sexist. It really, from such a long time ago, we'll say 2024 years ago, men became the be all and end all, and women were the submissives. And imagine if it was the other way around. I wonder what the world would be like today if in that book was written that Gabby, died on the cross.
Gabby, okay.
Gabby, and Bruce was praying at the base of it. And then all of Gabby's besties wrote this Bible. As a female, I wonder if the world would look very different today if it was females in charge.
It's a very big question. I can only just give like a whim. Like obviously I have no certainty, but yeah, very interesting. In some of the myths, there's a myth about Odin in the Norse mythology where, you know, there's 3 women who control his fate. And so the idea of what that myth might represent is that in society, you know, women tend to, you know, like guys aren't having brunch with each other just to catch up and talk, right? So
Though they should.
Well, perhaps. But guys tend to organize and hang out around projects. Well, women tend to organize around people, right? And so their brains tend to be wired to be more communal. And so in that myth, it's meant to represent the idea that, you know, these women, a male's reputation is, and their fate is depicted how women perceive that man. Like if all the women in the village think you're a fuckhead, you know, that could completely destroy a guy. So there's a different kind of social power women tend to wield or to naturally be better at. And I think that in modernity, there's been more women graduate university in my generation and the lower generations. So that there's huge shifts that have taken place and taking place, which means there'll be more women in positions of power and all that kind of stuff. But in our culture, what we've seemed to have done is things that are more traditionally associated with a more masculine virtue. And I don't necessarily believe that women don't have what we would call masculine or whatever within them. But you look at the new Star Wars movies, you know, well, first of all, that's such a, I mean, the story plot of it was like something that was designed by commission. It's soulless. But Rey just seems to be like, oh, women can be men. And that's the best thing about women.
Did you like that movie? That was Rogue One, wasn't it?
No, I don't watch movies. But what I understand the plot to be is that she's just like really powerful and as good as men. But what my point is that it's like, the thing that I think is a mistake with those movies about women empowerment is it's kind of sending the message that the best a woman can aspire to be is as competent in the domains males are naturally wired to, like physical combat, or like, which
we're not. Well, look at the transgenders. They're trying to put them in a swimming pool against.
Well, let's say like my partner, like I know she is more emotionally in tune and sensitive to me. I know that she can help other people feel better, right? I know that she would be better with children than I would be in terms of being sensitive to their needs. I know that she's more forgiving and understanding and empathetic than me. And so our society... What my point is, they're saying that the message is the best a woman can be is like men.
Wow.
That's the highest that they can achieve. And that's our idiot culture. So it's still devaluing what women are naturally good at to the point that we think that women empowerment is to be like a man. And we're holding that up as like, and also in terms of like the patriarchy and all this shit, right? Now, obviously, you know, like they talk about like the pay gap. What is a thing is if we aggregate all males against a set of all females, the men dominate the women. But what they don't look at is the fact that like 1% of guys will dominate all the men and the women.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that even in that paradigm, it's like our value structure is that, okay, maybe there should be economic equality and they're staying, you know, economic coercion, all that. But what I'm saying is it's like, is that the way we're going to progress society forward, is just aspire to get as much wealth as possible? Well, you don't think that would actually potentially undermine a society by valuing shit that is the neoliberal kind of shit from Reagan and Thatcher where, you know, that we're all, instead of being like a working class, we're now consumers, you know?
So you've got the haves and then the have-nots.
Yeah.
And then you've got that great
and it's
divide.
Like, it's telling, it ignores any domains women are naturally better at on aggregate, and then also saying that the best they can do is be like men. And then also you have this postmodernist thing where people go, gender's just a social construct anyway. It's fucking madness.
It is. And I don't even know when that happened. I can't even pinpoint the moment that wokeness became so intrinsic in our society. I don't know. It just happened, and it was just slow and steady, and now the world Australia feels like it's run that way.
Yeah, well, I think it's partly a reaction to the neoliberal ideology, because when you just make everyone individuals, our subconscious or whatever is craving that collective identity. And because we can't seemingly return to religion, because we can't take the Bible story literally anymore, even if we could take it metaphysically true, then what do people grab to? They grab to this shit, And then there's also like, with a lot of woke stuff or a lot of, the dangers of left-wing stuff, there is a risk where there's a lot of envy masked as virtue, right? They're so interested in the people who are higher up, but they don't really give a fuck about the people below. But it's convenient for them to think that they do to themselves, so that they can pull down the people, and that they can be the special ones.
You've raised a couple of good points there. So perhaps the Gabby and Bruce story wouldn't have worked based upon what you're saying female tendencies naturally are versus male tendencies. Whether that's an evolutionary thing, I'm not sure.
Well, I think I would say that the evidence would suggest there is a role. Like, the difference between genders go back to like fish. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like nature's like, okay, for it to survive and the genes to propagate, this is what you're good at. This is what you're. Otherwise, it'd be the same thing. It would just be these asexual things.
Like frogs, aren't they?
Well, I think they can swap genders. Some of them can.
Or something.
But speaking on this point, this is the true crime story I have actually speaks to an interesting story about a woman who was in a lot of economic hardship in our Australian history, and I would love to share it with you and your audience.
Bring the action.
Bring the action. Well, one of the stories I've been working on is about a woman called Dulcie Markham, and she was a very interesting woman. She was involved in organised crime in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and she was a sex worker and then a brothel madam, and she also was sort of vilified in the media because she had 7 different male partners who died while she was dating them. So the media portrayed her, gave her names like the Angel of Death and
something about a spider, something about a
Black Widow spider.
Black Widow, yeah.
She was very attractive, so she had hot girl problems, as the kids say. And
she was a brunette too, wasn't she?
No, she was blonde.
Was she a blonde? In my head, I've heard a podcast with that, and in my head, she was a brunette.
We create little images,
with red lipstick and black eyeliner.
Right.
But no, she's a blondie.
Yeah, she was a blondie. She was born on the eve of World War One, which is a good omen. She was born in a place called Surrey Hills in Sydney, which is now a very affluent area. Cafes with gyms inside them and yoga mats that are about gay rights or whatever, and all the middle-class shit. Back then, it was like people were so poor that there would be like bed bugs up into the walls. People would live without windows. They would just have holes. And
this is Australia in the 1930s?
No, 1910s and 20s. And the 30s as well. Yeah. But the aristocrats would sort of describe it with contempt. Like, they were poetic terms. Like, they would say stuff like, where the spawn of the gutter grow to fat and multiply. But they would almost be poetic with their contempt. Whimsical. Yeah. When I read that, I wondered, like, do the 1% now have poetry readings where they kind of have this contempt? I wonder if there's like an Epstein Island somewhere where and it's at no point did it seem that the poverty she grew up into or the society that blamed for her for being a sex worker, at no point did the aristocrats feel like they had any responsibility or duty to fix that area. They just condemned it as being immoral. Like it was a moral failing that they were poor, rather than maybe their policies or it was their duty to make it wealthier.
Through no fault of their own.
Yeah. And so how did it end up poor? But I think it's easy that we lose that connection and we just see the results of our actions. Like, think about bin chickens, right? bin chickens, ibises. They're called bin chickens now. I was walking by a green area near where I live, and I saw a family of ibises in the stream having a bath. And it struck me because you never see ibises kind of being majestic or beautiful.
Yeah.
You only see them like covered in trash and stuff.
Eating
chips out of a bin. Bin chicken. You got contempt for them. You're like, bin chickens. But then I thought about how unfair it is that we call them bin chickens, because they're only eating out of bins because we destroyed their habitat. They don't want to be bin chickens, right? And that's so unfair. It would be like if I demolished your home and then you find the rubble and you're like, oh my God. And then you go through the rubble to like grab the family albums, and I'm there yelling at you going, you're rubble chicken. You're a filthy rubble and I'm just trying to see a photo of my grandma. Rubble chicken, right? It's so unfair. And so
I'm never going to call an ibis a bin chicken again.
Whoa. Yeah.
Let's start the movement. Say no to bin chicken.
I'm going to acknowledge that at every show. But, it's crazy, right? That we call them bin chickens. Like how we fuck their environment. Like why do you... Anyway, and so...
Also, bin chicken, the name, slid out of nowhere as well. That was not a thing.
Yeah, well, maybe it just makes us feel better about ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like these people shitting on Surrey Hills. So Dulcie, she grew up in the bin chicken suburb, and her mum was a domestic servant who went to court because she stole some clothes that were worth a month's wages. Very inappropriate when the domestic servants steal
from
the rich
boss,
people.
yeah.
A massive bin chicken sort of behaviour.
That's the vibe.
And then her father is reported to being a theatrical performer. But as far as I can tell, there's no historical record of any plays or anything he was in.
So maybe street performer.
So we don't know. I do know that it's not the easiest thing to make a living through a performer, even now. I don't know what it's like back then living in bin chicken suburbs, so it must have been hard for him.
Definitely.
And, it's only in the last few years I've been able to make like a full-time living just through performing. For years, I was on Centrelink, and then I would also have an ABN, which I would maybe make a couple $100s a year through performing. And so I would have to tell Centrelink that I was self-employed, even though I wasn't really making that much money. So people would ask me what I would do, because I wasn't technically unemployed and I wasn't technically self-employed. So I would tell them I'm self-unemployed. So
I choose
to be unemployed, right? And so I think Dulcie's father was probably self-unemployed. So when she turned 15, she moved out of home on the eve of the Great Depression, the year the Great Depression struck, right? So World War One, Great Depression, right?
She is a Debbie Downer.
She's a Debbie Downer. Well, I think the world was a Debbie Downer on her. Yeah. Oh, she's a real bummer. She ended up going to King's Cross near Surrey Hills and got involved in sex work at a very young age, which is quite sad. And then there was a detective called Lillian Armstrong, who was like the first female detective in Australia. And her role was to try to rescue these women from these
sex work
things, because there were so many moral prohibitions on them. And then she told Lillian Armstrong she'd be offered domestic work, and she go, thank you, miss, but I make more in one day what I'd make in a month, right? So the economic logic is clear for Dulcie. Particularly, she's come from fucking bin world, bin chicken world. She's not coming back to that. She doesn't want to work in a factory and get her finger ripped off. And so this has modern parables of today to some extent. A lot more women than ever, my age and down, are doing like OnlyFans to try to make money. And like a lot of guys are interested in like trading cryptocurrency, get rich crypto.
Do you follow any OnlyFans accounts?
I've dabbled, but not really.
Okay, my husband does.
I think it's what happens is like people kind of like will have a moment of weakness.
Yeah.
And then, at least this is me.
Yeah.
You'll do it and you go, why am I doing this? And then you'll delete the account and be like, so I maybe started an account maybe like 3 times over the years.
So it's an app. Is it an app? You've got to
website.
download.
It's a website. Yeah.
All right.
And I think the appeal is that it gives you a more personal thing with it. But it's not. It's a weird phenomenon, right? And
it's charity.
Kind of
Sponsored.
Sponsor it. And then the guys, they'll get into cryptocurrency. A lot of younger people, they don't realize like OnlyFans or cryptocurrency, that there's a record of them doing that online forever. And just because the older generations fucked up the housing market for that means that they're, and I know if I was a father, I would be so sad. I would tell my kid, like, don't you realize this is online forever? You know, this is really shameful stuff. You shouldn't be doing this. And I mean cryptocurrency, right? I don't mean OnlyFans. But if my kid got into Bitcoin, I would be not under my roof. Get out, right? And I kind of mean that because OnlyFans, like, at least there's some pretext to work. Bitcoin, what are you doing? You're just like buying something and hoping. Like, what the fuck is that for a life strategy?
It's a wish.
Yeah, it's
Genie in a bottle.
It's a fantasy, right? It's like that's your strategy in life. Quickly, before we continue the Dulcie story, I wonder if my husband's on OnlyFans or whatever.
Yeah, because I just never thought, like, is all guys on there?
What's his, from memory, I'm pretty sure, because I did OnlyFans for a while. I think he subscribed to my OnlyFans account for a while. I think you should talk to him about that, because the messages he was sending me were very, very intense.
And can I just say, when I mentioned you were coming,
he was so excited.
He dropped the coffee mug.
So Dulcie is 17. It's the first time she gets in her long run with the media, right? Because her first fiance, so she's 17, very young, child.
Yeah, she's a kid.
Child. And her fiance was stabbed, a guy called Cecil McCormack. He was stabbed with a stiletto. And it took me like a month into researching the story to realize that that wasn't a shoe. It was actually a type of knife that is like a thin knife. That's where the shoe comes from. She didn't do it. A guy who did it. So her mentor was a woman called Tilly Devine, who was a brothel madam, very famous, involved in Sydney at that time in the era which was called the Razor Gang Wars. Back then, the cops didn't want people shooting each other. So they would take guns away from people, right? But people could have an excuse for carrying a razor blade. Oh, it's my razor, I got to shave, right? And so people would like hack each other up with these razors, like slash your throat, you're gone, right?
Yeah.
And so people got good at this, and then people got good at like dodging the razors. So people would slash with that, and they would cut the side of their hair, and then they would go on the other side and cut the other side. And that's where the mullet originates from. A lot of people don't actually know it's where the mullet comes from. So Tilly Devine's son actually had a crush on Dulcie, and they may or may not have had a fling at one point. The media reported she had like movie star good looks. They used the term a ravishing figure, which is an interesting... Anyway, yeah, I think that's what your husband called me on OnlyFans. He said I had a ravishing figure. He used the same language. And so Cecil was stabbed and killed. He died. And then, but then Dulcie, she's 17. She has to go and look at the body and identify that for the cops. Imagine you're 17, your fiance's been stabbed to death, and you have to identify. That's how, like, it wasn't until I was 18 that I even kissed a girl, right? You know, they were living, like, they've gone through all those steps.
Yeah.
And she's identifying, like, even at like 22, if the cops grabbed me and they brought me into a room and they said, Shayne, can you identify the clitoris? I probably couldn't. I would probably struggle. And so a different time, a faster paced life. And then not only on top of all that grieving and how traumatic that would be, and, you know, you've grown up in Chicken Binville, on top of that, the media, this is the first time the media starts to report about her. And they use the term, which is one of the terms they keep referring to as a pretty Dulcie, right? Which is a bit kind of inappropriate. Like, this is a child who's grieving, who's been involved in murder, and you're just there going, she's hot? Like, how inappropriate. Like, imagine going to a funeral and you're like, oh, I'm sorry about your loss, but nice tits, by the way, you know? Like, yum, 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 but sorry about the loss, you know? Like, bit inappropriate. And so this starts the pattern of how the media... like the public's involved in your like it's gonna fuck your head up. So Dulcie, she goes through a pattern of having quite a few partners who are involved in this criminal world who end up dying soon after they're dating her. About every 2.5 years, a guy would end up getting killed. So she had a few of this happen, and then the media catches on. So she's not actually responsible for any of these murders, none of them. But the media keeps focusing on her. They give her names like the Angel of Death and the Black Widow Spider, and she was very hurt by this. She was like very distraught at the funeral, and then they call her a gangster's mole, right? Have you ever heard that phrase, a gangster's mole?
Yep.
I hadn't until researching the story, and apparently that's where the origin. Because growing up, you hear people go, "Oh, you mole," right? I didn't know what it meant. And so a gangster's, I thought it meant like a mole or something back from the 1600s, potentially all the way back then. It was like kind of a term for like a prostitute. It's sort of interesting how we don't know the origins of those terms. And like another one is like, I just found out recently the term guy. Do you know where that comes from?
No.
It actually comes like, hey guys, like that. Oh, what up guys? Hey guy. Oh, that guy. That actually comes from Guy Fawkes. It actually does. Right. I was joking with the mullet thing, but it actually comes from the Guy Fawkes guy that tried to blow up British Parliament and like the
For sure.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. So we're going like, hey guys, like calling each other terrorists, right? He was a religious extremist that tried to blow up Parliament. Hey guys, which is crazy.
For the listener, I can't tell if he's joking.
No, I'm not joking. That's the true one. And what's even makes you wonder, like, what in the future, other terms will there be? Like, instead of hide and go seek in the future, they'll be like, oh, all right, kids, go hide in Bin Laden, you know? Go Bin Laden for daddy. And so she goes through this, and quite a few partners die. They're all sort of loosely involved in crime, and they get killed by other gangsters. So next sort of big arc of her life is World War II happens. What a time to be born. Like World War One, the fucking Depression, and then World War II. What? Like,
don't forget Surrey Hills.
Don't forget the bin chickens, right?
Yeah.
And so,
and the death.
All the deaths, all the fucking deaths, right? And the media vilifying you.
Yeah.
So World War II happens, and so at the time, all these American soldiers come to Brisbane.
All the sailors,
All the sailors.
Yeah.
And so at the time,
what a time to be alive.
I know, particularly as a sex worker, right? So she sees where the money is, so she comes up here to capitalize on that, and then she's
to Brisbane.
Yeah, well, the Gold Coast, right? Because Gold Coast,
that was not in my podcast.
She got arrested. She had 100 different charges over the years, all the way from like vagrancy to selling slay grog to assault and all these charges. Small time in jail. She ended up the Gold Coast during World War II and she was smart because she knew that she was good looking. She would target the officers, not the troops, because they'll pay more. So like sex workers might get £2, but she was getting like £10. And she changed her name many times, like different sex worker names. So I think it was like Dulcie Markham or something that sounded French and sophisticated. I'm not good at, dyslexic or whatever, but something like that. And in showbiz or sex work, you need a good, fun name. They always like names like Stormy Summers or something like that. And like,
I wasn't allowed to call any of my kids Crystal.
You need a fun name, right? Because it's part of the reason it helps them be successful. We're not talking about a story about, there's a lesser known sex worker in the same era who wasn't as good as marketing at Dulcie, and her sex worker name was Drizzly Autumns. And we don't know about Drizzly because the name's not as fun.
Nobody wants to hear about Drizzly.
No one wants to hear about this. No one could Drizzly. But I'm joking. That's a joke.
Okay, good. Because I was like,
but the Guy Fawkes one is real.
The worst name ever.
Yeah. That's why I was trying to be funny, right? And to highlight, you need a good name. And so she would get the officers, right? And so at the time, huge demand for sex, right? So like, you're going overseas, you could die.
Yeah.
You're like, well, what am I going to do before I die if I had to pick one thing, right? And so it's weird that just as I said that, I looked at a photo of the wall of a soldier. Perhaps he was one of Dulcie's clients. I don't know if that's a family member of yours.
So that is my husband's grandmother's uncle, and H.V. Lewis, and he was missing in action in the Air Force. So his plane went down.
Well, I really hope he had a good time with Dulcie before he went down.
And not Drizzly.
Not Drizzly. No. Yeah, Jesus. And so, so 800,000. So the population in Brisbane at the time was 300,000.
Yeah.
Extra 800,000 American personnel, mainly men.
Wow.
So there's massive competition for women.
Yeah.
So people would a lot of Aussies would miss out.
This is why my grandfather never liked Americans.
Yes.
We were never allowed to eat McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he hated the Yanks.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they were arrogant, right?
Yeah.
And so the Australians were out competed, and people would lose their girlfriends and sometimes even their wives to the Americans.
Definitely.
And that's because the Americans, their uniforms were nicer and they were paid twice as much as the Australians.
And you know they had a massive fight.
Yeah, the Battle of Brisbane.
Yeah.
And because I remember telling my ex-girlfriend, I'd be like, why would we be with one guy? We can be with another guy who's paid twice as much, who dresses better.
Exactly.
And I really
brings
regret
Coca-Cola.
telling her that. You know, I think that was a big mistake. That kind of fucked up there. But what were you saying?
And they brought Coca-Cola.
And they brought jazz and cool
jazz.
dance
Yeah.
and a lot, you know. And so they were more gregarious and worldly and liked the movies, right? So like it was a no-brainer for the chicks.
Yeah.
But people even lose their wives, right? So, and then not only that, the Australians, they'll go overseas and whenever there was an American victory, it would be an American victory, and whenever there was like an Australian victory, it was an Allied victory,
Yeah.
right? So the Australians never got credit. So they won a few battles defending Australia and Papua New Guinea from the Japanese or whatever, and it was just Allied victory, and they're like, oh, where's our credit, you know? So imagine that, like you've got your arm blown off, your dominant hands gone, you come home and you find that you don't get any credit and now your wife's left you, and then you'll be like, well, at least I can always masturbate. Oh, hang on, no I can't. So no wonder they ended up rioting. And so Dulcie, she's you know, making coin, right? She makes so much money that she ends up moving to Melbourne after the war. Now she's got enough money to start her own operation, so she goes to St Kilda, where St Kilda's like a suburb that had like a lot of nice mansions and hotels and stuff, but it becomes a crime hub. Like a lot of like criminal stuff starts happening in St Kilda, sort of like gentrification in reverse.
Yeah.
Right? Like all this, like it becomes a hub, and she ends up getting like a hostel. She's got women working for her. At this point, now she's got another guy. I think she's up to the sixth dude, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, she's dating a guy, Gavin Walsh, who is a 23-year-old. She's 38 at this point.
Yep.
Right. So, you know, cougar.
So it's a little bit better than old mate in France,
Who's old mate in France?
the president of France.
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
He was 14, she was 39.
Yeah. That's like, wasn't there a conspiracy theory that that guy was his wife was a man, and it's like some weird,
Yeah.
craziness going on?
Uh-huh. You need to do that deep dive. It's
Yeah.
full on.
Yeah.
It's full on.
It's
14, 39, she was his teacher. You can tell we've both got ADHD, right? Look at us.
probably.
Just from one thing to the next. So if you have a look at it, 14, 39, she was his drama teacher. She was a molester, obviously, because he's a child. Then eventually they got married and he became the president. And then his people somehow persuaded the country that it was a love affair of all time, like the love of all love affairs, and that how could he possibly not have been attracted to her because she was so damn beautiful. You look at photos of her at 39. She was nothing to the eye.
She doesn't look like, I don't, you know, everyone, there's so many different body types out there, but she does not look feminine
Right.
in her body. Do you know what I mean? Like she looks like a little man.
I don't care if she's a man or a woman. I don't care. But what I care
it's
about,
the pedophilia of it.
Right, that's what it is for
but
me.
what I mean is there's just layers of deception is what it points to.
right? But if you Google her name, and then say the word man doesn't even come up, so it's been scrubbed. It's scrubbed from the internet.
Well, our podcast has taken off because of this, you know. It's weird.
We're gonna
it's
be
creepy. It's we're going to be scrubbed.
Now back to As You Were. So Dulcie's now a brothel owner. She's putting her web out there. She's got her own girls.
Yes. And she's also selling sly grog.
Yeah, okay.
Because you couldn't sell alcohol past 6 p.m. at the time. You had the temperance movement in Australia, right? So, and, you know, cocaine as well was popular. She's running this for 5 years, and then she's got a new guy, 23, and I think he was like a kind of amateur boxing champion dude. This Gavin guy, and
Gav,
Big Gav, and that age gap. But what it is I think that maybe so many of her partners have been killed that I think she's like, can I find someone who's got like a strong immune system? I think that's part of the 23-year-old thing. And so all that's going on. And then there's a shooting. So that apparently there's like a wild drug-fueled party happening where she was at, which the newspapers described as a shindig.
Yeah.
And I kind of find it funny that they would describe like a drug-fueled orgy as a shindig. Do you know what I mean? Like it's quite a...
That sounds like a positive party.
Yeah, it's like 1950s lingo. Like I've dabbled online on porn sites. I've never seen the category shindig. Do you know what I mean? And I'd actually like to see that more. I think that might help, attitudes. Like if you know...
Sounds wholesome.
Yeah, just like, ravishing dames enjoy shindig, right? And so there was a shindig, and this is my favorite part of the scene where they have an impromptu hootenanny. Right? So that's all going on, and a guy rocks up and he shoots, and people scatter. Right, Dulcie's shot 3 times, twice in the leg, once in the hip. Gavin's shot dead.
Oh, Gav.
Poor Gav. And then 23. And then his older brother is also shot, but he survives, right? And guess what was happening at the time is turf war. Although some people think it might have been an ex-lover of Dulcie and the jealousy thing happening again. We're not sure. But quite possibly turf war, So if you take out your enemies, you're the one who'll make more money selling grog. And that's actually still happening today. Although it's over the vape shops and the selling of tobacco. Do you know about that? There's fire bombings and stuff. And I think it's just coming to Queensland now, but it's wild. It's like full-on gang warfare happening. And I also think it's kind of interesting because you can see the way crime has become more gentrified. So it used to be over sly grog, sounds ominous, sly grog, right? Well, now it's over like who can sell... watermelon flavored lung damage.
Vapes.
People, going, this is mango berry pop territory, all right? And strange. And so vapes is like now the violence or whatever. It's wild. And so that's all going on. And she's shot. She survives, amazingly. She ends up going to court a couple of weeks later, and she has to have 3 surgeries on her hip. And in court, she's brought in a stretcher.
If you tell me that's where the name hipster came from, I will not be.
Yeah, that's where hipsters come from. Although I wish maybe it should. And so she's in court, and then they bring out, so the brother of Gavin is like the accused, that's definitely who did it. And then Dulcie's brought out as the next key witness, and she's like, no, it's not them, definitely not them. And the judge is like, are you sure? Because what you said at the time to the cops when they found you said, don't worry about them, leave it to me. Right? So she's part of the criminal code where you don't snitch, which is kind of a weird paradox that criminals would be like so ethical about their law, like they're like, why can't you just follow society's laws, right? The guy gets off, and now Dulcie's got this hectic hip injury, and it affects her the rest of her life. Every step she takes, and not only like has she lost yet another partner, now she's got like a permanent injury to remind her of that loss. And she's still a sex worker. I'm not an expert. I didn't write the Kama Sutra, but I'm pretty sure hips are involved in sex work. There would probably be a bit of sensation around that, and so how full on to have that as an emotional trauma. Have you ever heard of a book called The Body Keeps the Score? It's about how emotional trauma coalesced in the body. And certainly true in that case. She's got this permanent hip injury, and then 3 months after this murder, she ends up getting married again, and she gets married in the same room that he was shot in. That's crazy. Isn't that crazy? Like every girl's
So she got married in a brothel.
Every girl's dream to get married in a brothel.
Wow.
The last person got shot in, right? Yeah. The cops end up closing off the streets for this wedding because it was the hub for crime and all this kind of stuff. Then the newspapers, again, they've like reported the angel of death, and they're like, giving her a hard time. I can't believe that, the grass is barely growing. What are you're a maniac. But I think it actually makes a lot of sense that she would get married again so quickly. And I don't think the papers at the time understood this. In that sex world culture, particularly back then, well, you need a pimp. You need a guy who will protect you. So
So that's what this was.
Yeah, I'm suggesting that's how
Yeah, it's protection.
That's how I recognize it.
That's exactly what that
it's
would
protection.
be. Yeah.
It's like, I'm loyal to you, loyal to me. That means I'm safe. Whether this is a conscious
of the times.
Well, it's also part of the culture of the time, right? She's going to want to find the most biggest, baddest, toughest guys. But I think this is the tragedy of Dulcie, is that she's wanting that security, wanting that protection, never having it, that she's going to the toughest guys. But then
they don't treat her right.
Well, maybe they don't treat her right. Maybe some did better than others. Maybe some were horrible. But the problem is that these really tough guys, we only know they're tough because they operate in an ecosystem in which they have to be tough. But then they're attracting that hostility. So there's a phenomenon that occurs in psychology where we end up creating the conditions we're trying to prevent, right? There's a what's called a maladaptive schema, or an unconscious belief system, and we all have them. There's like 18 main ones, but one of them is called mistrust. And so a lot of tough guys have this mistrust schema, but then the tragedy is it often increases the likelihood of danger. And people with mistrust schemas actually end up getting into fights. So colloquially, we know this is, what are you looking at, guys? You know, if you're on public transport, when I was younger, you'd sort of look at someone and what are you looking at? What are you fucking looking at? Because they're projecting onto you. You want to fucking fight. You try to fight because their paranoia is being projected onto you. You just fucking cower away into the shadows. Because, you know, you're not going to, like, you fight someone on a train, right?
For making eye contact.
Yeah, yeah, fucking, what do you mean? What we don't appreciate, and we're alluding to it, because we're not in the situation, is what happens when two what are you looking at guys look at each other, have a what are you looking off, and then it escalates into a fight because we're not in the room. So what are you fucking looking at? I don't know. What are you fucking looking at? What are you fucking... So she's dating all the what are you looking at guys who live in an ecosystem where there's only what are you looking at guys. So everyone doesn't know what they're looking at. No one knows what they're looking at, right? And Dulcie's like, I've got to climb to the top. She's mistaken the causality here. She's like, I need to find a guy who knows what they're looking at, right? So she keeps trying to get the toughest guy, but then the toughest guy invariably is going to bring challenges because he's like, what are they looking at? And so that's and I think that's actually a lot of young women make this mistake where they confuse, because, you know, you don't want to be with a loser, a guy with no confidence or a guy with no physicality, but you also don't want to confuse like lack of empathy or a lack of a sense of danger or self-preservation for confidence. Yeah. Because it looks like confidence, but it's not. So I think a lot of young women, I'm going to go with stab nugget. What are you looking at, guy? Because he'll protect me. But it's like, no, he's going to bring you more drama and danger because he attracts it. Yeah. He lives in that world. And now you've got a tattoo for some reason. And you know what I mean? Like, because I've met a few women, they're kind of in that world and then they come out of it in their 30s.
I used to know a guy when I was 15 who had a knife strapped to his back.
What, like in the middle?
Yeah.
Like in the middle of his back?
I don't know. Somewhere there.
Somewhere there. Well, like, because he was... Cool. He didn't know he didn't know what people were looking at.
Yeah, exactly. He did not know what people were looking at.
Right. So he had a bit of paranoia, obviously.
I didn't marry one of those, though.
You didn't? Thank God. All right, thank God. Well, I would say that if you did, they would definitely have a few OnlyFans accounts, you know, and they'd be spending your money on it, probably. Yes. But I think that's one of the things she was locked in, right? We don't see those patterns when we're enmeshed in those cultures. And so eventually this guy, she marries this guy whose nickname's Redder. He gets shot, but first one survives. He actually survives. But then they break up and they realize they're better as just friends. And so very progressive and modern. Yeah. But at that point, you know, she would never talk to the media. She said, I've had enough. She felt very hurt by the way the media would portray her, you know, because they'll put like cartoons of her with like guns for smoking barrels. And she's like, I'm not a fucking gun person. Like, and then
I'm all about the switchblades.
She's all about the razors. She's all about the
stilettos.
The stilettos, right? And that's the first time she says that I'm done with this world. And we think she may have had a daughter that she may have had since the Gold Coast saga. But it's hard to know lots of information about her. And then she's also trying to probably protect her daughter's identity. And so She's probably got like a 90-year-old daughter out there now, or grandkid, who knows, right? And so she tries to get out of this world, and then I think she gets the only time she has sort of 2-year break from that period. We don't heaps know what's going on with her, but I think she gets arrested one more time for vagrancy, which is what the cops would charge people when they were like, "Oh, we think you're soliciting sex work, but we can't prove it." And then she ends up in hospital, thrown off a balcony.
Oh my
A witness says they saw she was thrown off a balcony. So this might be her old criminal enemy friends. Easily could have been fatal. And she ends up in an oxygen thing, like in hospital. The cops go, what happened? And she goes, fell down the stairs, which is like I'm not going to tell you, right? So she's still got that I'm not going to snitch culture.
Yeah.
And the cops are like, oh, okay. The cops obviously knew she was lying.
Yeah.
Although it was the 1950s, so maybe it wasn't apparent that I fell down the stairs was,
Yeah.
you know, because now we're aware of things
I
like...
walked into a door, yeah.
Now we're aware of a good thing is we're now aware domestic violence is a problem.
Yeah.
And so we know if someone's like, is that really going on? Like, that's like the dog ate my homework. But maybe this is 15s and they were more naive and they didn't know that. Maybe at the time, the police were, oh, okay. And then the statistics go up, and then the government, not realizing they had a problem with domestic violence, were like, we got to do something about these stairs. Like, all these women keep falling down the stairs. You know, maybe they had a campaign. Australia says no to women falling down stairs. And so she ends up finally getting out of that world. And then she finally marries. First time, she kind of gets a straight life. Around 50 or whatever, she ends up getting a guy who was just like a merchant sailor, right? A normal guy. And then she gets her sort of final identity as wife. It's listed as she just does domestic duties or whatever. And it would have been hard for a woman like that to find a normal guy, to not be bored by them. It's hard to go from like, oh, so did you stab anyone today, sweetheart? Like, it would have been such a crazy world she was from, but she was finally ready to say no. She could have tried to take that path earlier on with that first detective, but she was like, no. And then, sadly, she only gets like 4 years of normal life before she then dies in a fire from smoking a cigarette. She passes out, and the cigarette causes a house fire. She lived in Bondi in Sydney and dies at 62.
I think I remember that ending.
What a life, right?
What a life.
You know, and I guess one of the things I think about when I think about that story is like, I don't know if you ever daydream about like, oh, what would happen if society collapsed? Could go Mad Max. I'd have to like fight people all the time and or sell my body for sex, right? Yes. We sort of daydream about that, but then it's like some people are actually living in that reality the whole way through their life. And I think Dulcie was someone who was living a Mad Max life.
That's just like fight or flight, like just go all the time.
Well, that's a good point.
Scary
Her whole life was in a fight or flight response.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And talk about like trauma and fucking identity issues, right? So there's a personality disorder called borderline personality disorder, which is like quite a harsh thing, but it's known by like people who don't have a strong sense of identity. They think in extreme black and whites, and they have massive abandonment issues. So it's thought to be partly developed when children, whether real or just experienced by the child, have that developmental insecurity by feeling abandoned in a very primal, you know, I'm talking like before 7.
So it's not genetic, it is.
Well, there seems to be a genetic, it's like what they say is like nature loads the gun and the environment pulls the trigger.
So you've got the predisposition.
Yeah, so some people can have it and they don't get it.
Yeah.
Other people can actually have a very nurturing environment and just something doesn't happen. They don't experience that internalizing of the mother.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with the mum. And it can just happen to anyone. It's just one of those things, right? And, you know, luckily there's more and more treatments for it, but it's like, it's a real, very high suicide risk kind of condition. But it's, does Dulcie have BPD? Well, I don't know, but the two big parts of it are abandonment issues and identity disturbance. So her identity constantly changes as a sex worker, all these different aliases, and then the media giving her all these names.
And then what about attachment theory?
Exactly. And then all the partners being murdered.
Yeah.
So if she didn't have BPD, she may have been the first adult in human history to develop BPD.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
Yeah.
got to fucking fry your head.
Definitely. Definitely. And it makes me wonder what her childhood was really like.
Probably not great. You know, when you're running away to join the Razor Gang wars and be a sex worker and that's your better option, probably not a great environment at home.
No.
But yeah, that's my Dulcie story.
And so will you put that on your crime tour?
So that's one of the stories, yeah. So that one, and then Squizzy Taylor.
Yeah.
And then some stuff about the Gatwick Hotel, which Squizzy Taylor, just briefly, is like a little bit like Chopper Read in that it was in the 20s, but he was like the first kind of like celebrity criminal.
Okay.
Because he would like, be on the run, but then write newspapers that were like cheeky.
Oh, like the postcard bandit.
A little bit, yeah, like that. But very narcissistic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not a nice guy, like murderer. Who used to blackmail people where, you know, he would have different girls, lure guys in and then married men, and then he would come in and go, that's my wife, I'll tell everyone, give me money to stay silent.
This sounds like Hamilton, the script from Hamilton.
Yeah. Well,
you haven't seen it?
No. But I know that that's a classic sting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he would do like he was involved in every kind of crime you could at back then.
And so how can people find your show and which cities are you doing? So you've got Sydney coming up.
The way you can find my show is I want you to look up remote viewing or find a local psychic and ask them where you can just simply, the best way to do it is I travel around Australia doing these. I also work with a friend of mine and a very funny comedian called Roy Campbell who helps me with these stories. There's another comedian who occasionally helps with these stories called Angus Gordon, who's very, very funny. But you can follow us all on Instagram. So I'm Shayne Hunter with a Y. And then during things like comedy festivals or fringe festivals, I might be in your city. But I live in Brisbane, so at least 6 months a year I'm doing walking tours on the weekend.
I'm going to do one in August.
And you're going to do one in August, which will be great. And then I'm also working on some other projects. So in August 25th, I'm doing a show all about communication and conflict resolution and the funny kinds of ways we argue and break it down in a way that's like hopefully showing what's very funny about it, all the dumb arguments we have with our partner, from trivial stuff to like big dramatic stuff, and what's really going on there, or at work or with our bosses, any conflict with our kids or whatever, and parents. And then, yeah, I'm doing that at the Sit Down Comedy Club with a friend of mine, a very funny comedian called Chris Pachul. And yeah.
And can I just say, throughout this interview with you today, Shayne, like you are a really intellectual person. So that's why I said I can't tell when you're about to pull a fast one on me and joke, because you come across so freaking clever.
Well, thank you. Thanks.
And so I think only twice you had to say, that was a joke, Bill.
Right. Well, yeah, no, yeah.
Because I'm like, tell me more.
Yeah. The intellectual thing is like, I think it's like, yeah, fuck school, man. Like
Yeah,
I failed.
but you
I
are.
failed every fucking subject.
Hello.
Every subject I failed. It's a garbage system. It only measures what the measurement is.
Should we tell each other what our scores were at the end? 1, 2, 3. Go. Don't do it. I'm not saying mine ever.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
God.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have some quick fire questions for you.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Fire
number
away.
1. Oh, I'm just going to say it and you've already answered it. Out of the 2 you already said, who's your comedic idol?
Oh,
You don't have to say
I've
one
got
of the
a
ones you
few.
said.
I got a few. I really liked Bill Hicks, and there's a lot I admire about Bill Hicks. So if people don't know who Bill Hicks is, he sadly died at 32 when he was just growing out of his sort of self-righteous phase. But he was someone who kind of used comedy to rail against what he thought was like the degeneration of our culture. So like vapid consumerism and shallow art. He thought that had a corrosive effect on our civilization. Looking where things are and where the priorities are, I would say he was bang on right about that.
Is he Aussie?
No, he's an American.
He was an American.
Yeah, he was no. He became sort of well known long after he died.
Okay.
But he's an interesting guy. Might not be everyone's cup of tea because there's some videos of him. He's only like 27, so it's like kind of he's in his angry kind
Yeah.
of like
Angsty.
fuck the man, you know. So, you know, he was young, so he's only as mature as his age or
Yeah.
whatever. But I do like Doug Stanhope, who's another comedian who takes on big issues and kind of is insightful, but he's very gritty and kind of dark, and he's very clever. Yeah, they're probably my two guys I like.
Yeah. And there's no point with any of the other of my quick fire questions because we know you don't watch movies. My question was going to be favourite comedy film.
Oh,
Have you ever watched a film?
yeah, I have.
And was it funny?
I just feel like with comedy films, like, I just feel like they're not that punchy,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like the way that the film industry has worked is like, it feels like, what's that? There's like a saying where it's like a donkey is a horse built by committee, right? So I feel that with comedy is a dangerous thing. So that's why Australia rarely invests in comedies. And a lot of the time they are unfortunately shit because it's a very hard thing to get right. And when you have a big production, you have so many, it's like becomes bureaucratic, which is...
there's so many different talking heads in it.
Well, and they have different objectives.
Yeah.
And to my regret, maybe not to others, we spend, you know, football is a safe thing as an investor to produce because it's like, oh, people like football and like it's a good return on investment.
Yeah.
Well, comedy, maybe you like the chances you make the next Seinfeld is like so slim, but the chances are you make some dog shit where you don't get your return on investment is like really high. So
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think with a lot of comedy films, like they're trying to appease everyone at once. I think comedy can be quite transgressive and maybe ruffle feathers, which is doesn't go well with the sort of investor return model. I'm going to do a movie about drug addicts who deal drugs to the to Parliament House, which is a real thing that happened apparently. People are like, nah. We're not gonna fund that.
It's too real.
Right. It's too edgy or transgressive. And so I think with comedy films, like there's obviously good ones out there, but I just can't think of anything.
So my favourite would be probably Will Ferrell.
Yeah, you like Will Ferrell?
I just love him.
What's your favourite Will Ferrell movie?
Oh, I would probably say it's a hard pick between Old School and Anchorman.
And Anchorman?
Yeah.
I think I remember watching Anchorman and enjoying it.
Did you? Oh, I think when I first saw Old School, like I laughed so hard I could not breathe. I physically could not breathe. It was
great.
so funny. Now, my very last question that I ask all of my guests, Shayne Hunter,
Yes.
have you ever seen a ghost or a UFO?
That's a great question. They're such good topics. Have I ever seen a ghost or a UFO? Well, before I was starting this, like I wanted to ask you about like remote viewing or whatever, because like I'm not a mystical person. So talking about true crime, right?
Yeah.
So just quickly, no, I don't think I've seen a ghost. I think I may have seen a UFO. I was in a graveyard, but I was also on psychedelics.
So what did it look like?
4 lights that were like there and then they flew away into the
Was
distance.
anyone with you?
Yes.
Did they see the same thing?
Yes.
Did you tell them you saw that?
They brought it up first.
And did you see it before they brought it up?
Yes.
So independently,
But
you
we were both on psychedelics.
Yeah, but
It seems unlikely, but it is a caveat. But with the ghost stuff, I think I've got more interesting stuff to say,
Go.
right? So with the ghost stuff, I'm very aware of the dangers of things like the causality illusion. So for centuries, human beings thought bloodletting was great because seemingly when we drain people of blood, their symptoms go away. But what actually is happening is they don't have the energy to be manic anymore. So where we confuse correlation with causality, and the scientific revolution was about teasing out correlation from causality to try to disprove that it's not just a correlation and that there may be a causal link, right?
Yeah.
And I respect that. And I think that my awareness of having been young and became a political extremist, I was an anarchist, being aware of how easy it is for the human mind to believe in shit, I tentative with any kind of new agey hocus woo stuff, right? But in terms of ghosts and stuff, like I met some people that they, through a true crime author called Roy Malloy, who unfortunately has gone through some health issues, but he's been nothing but lovely I met him at the Adelaide Fringe recently. But look up Roy Malloy if you like Australian true crime authors.
Yeah.
But he introduced me very kindly to some people who work with Debbie, and then through Debbie and Rob are business partners for the Geelong Jail Museum, which I'm going to be doing the Geelong Comedy Festival in Victoria, where I'll be doing a comedy show with Ro Campbell about some of these true crime stories in the actual jail.
Wow.
And so talking to them just about like they have all these artifacts or whatever, and then they were bringing up ghost stuff to me.
You might see a ghost in the
I
jail.
might see a ghost. And like, you know, Deb, I think she had a background in journalism. Like these aren't like, they're not people who bring up ghosts because they're ghost orientated or into, you know, tarot cards or any of that kind of, you know,
They're
kind
legit. Well, I had a psychic on this show, and she has a psychology degree.
Right. Yeah,
They're serious people.
Yeah, because so there are accounts of some of the ghost stuff in the jail. Because this jail was operating 150 years. Chopper Reed was in one of the cells.
Was he?
So when we're performing on stage, this jail cell was right there that Chopper Reed was in.
Yeah.
Which will be fucking wild.
Yeah.
But they have heaps of ghost shit. So they say like first, so they've been running that business. I think they said it was like more than 15 years or whatever. But they had things where like they'll just have people go in and check out all the exhibits and, you know, artifacts and walk around, all the displayed on the wall or whatever. And they'll walk out and they're like, oh, thanks. You know, they bring their kid and shit. Like it's just a family weekend thing. And then they'll say, oh, it's really cool that you pay for the actors up on the third floor there. And they're like, we don't fucking do that. So people will all see the same shit all the time.
Wow.
Their personal experiences of the ghost stuff is quite frequent. They said they brought in psychics or whatever and had psychics run out screaming, and then another psychic like walked in with beers and they're like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm just having a beer with the ghost thing. Like, you know, it's just madness, right?
So I have never seen a ghost or a UFO, Shane, but all three of my children have had an experience with a ghost. They've all said the exact same thing.
I'm actually a ghost.
Yeah, hey?
I'm actually a ghost.
So you're not actually here right
I'm not
now.
actually here.
So I am talking to myself.
That the aliens brought. No, sorry, yeah. So your kids have seen ghosts?
Yeah, my kids, they have. More audience, like more, they've heard them.
They've heard them.
Yeah.
What did they hear?
Their names whispered on the wind, and they asked me independently, separately, don't you hear your name on the wind? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? What, you don't hear your name being whispered really loud in your ear? I'm like,
what, when?
No.
Like, well, they all said that shit.
Yeah, in our house.
At the same time?
No, within about 6 months of each other.
Right. And did they know that the other kid had said that? You weren't
No,
like...
because I wasn't really listening to the first one who said it.
Right.
Because she was like 12. So I
you
was
got
like,
shit
yeah,
to
whatever.
do, and you're like,
Whatever.
Yeah.
And then my youngest one, who was about 5, yelled at me instead and said, stop saying, Marshall. And I said, I'm not calling you. So that was the second one.
Right.
And then the third one was 17 at the time. And then she told me, and I'm like, right.
And you didn't bring it up between the three of them?
No,
Right.
never. Because I
Weird.
ignored the first one. The second one was mean to me about it, thinking it was me doing it.
Right.
And then the third one came to me independently as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've never had that experience. And then with my guests, I asked them all this same thing. So you're the second with the UFO.
Right.
Right.
What did was the first one a good one?
Yeah. Yeah, it was in Papua New Guinea.
I'll
It's the first episode.
I'll have to look at the link. I don't want to reiterate
It's a great
audiences.
episode, actually. It's the police officer who worked in the...
And why are you interested in these subjects?
Ghosts and UFOs?
Yeah.
I'm always looking for UFOs.
You're always
I've
looking
spent
for
hours outside looking for UFOs.
And why? What do you mean always?
When I say always, I mean like if I'm outside, I'm looking at the sky.
Wow.
I don't go outside to look at the sky.
Why are you interested in UFOs?
Because it's got to be. It's got to be.
It's got to be.
There's got to be. How can we be the only people?
There's a difference between thinking we're alone in the universe as the only like sentient life form or thing versus believing that we're actively being visited. Like they're two different things, right? So like the evidence would suggest the enormity of the universe and the precedent that life occurred on this just seems more
I
than
guess
likely.
I also want there to be. And when I used to work for
Right.
council, I had a lady come in and she was about 70 and she lived in Wacol. And she felt like she had to report the UFO that was on top of her house in the 70s. Because she said, I'm going to die soon. My husband's already gone. And I feel like I need to tell someone. I don't know who to tell. So I'll just go to local council.
That's hilarious. It's like usually you bring up like bins or your roundabout.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys.
No, this was...
By the way, can you also fix that pothole? I think the aliens also find that pothole annoying as well.
But I wish I could have her on the podcast, but I don't remember who she was. But she came in, she was dead set serious. She's like, we never told anybody. You're one of the first people we have ever told because we thought they'd send us they thought we'd be nuts.
And was she rural or?
Wacol.
Oh, near the prison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was massive and it was nighttime and it was the 70s and the room was dark. And then suddenly the other windows all lit and a UFO, because she had to go outside because of the lights, went outside and the UFO was right above their house and it was circular and it had all those lights people talk about. And then her husband ran back in to get the camera, came out and it
the fuck is like, you know what's annoying? It's so frustrating. It's like, if it's not some sort of like, so as far as we, it could be some weird kind of weather thing we don't understand. There could be fucking so much shit we don't understand that it's just like some sort of like physical phenomenon. Like, ball lightning is very rare, but occasionally a lightning ball will just come through your wall.
And hover. What? Come on.
Yeah. So that's a thing that
I'm going to look that up.
They thought ball lightning wasn't real, but they've since physics has been like, oh yeah, we don't fully understand, but it's a documented.
I'm going to look that up. And then you've got min lights.
Right. I
Lights?
think there is a conventional physics explanation for that phenomenon, though.
Really? Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
I think it's like a kind of light you see when you're driving from Adelaide to Perth, the min light.
Yeah.
And I think But
but it's a phenomenon. I'm going to.
Well, please tell me.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
But I think it's rural Australia. It's definitely Adelaide to Perth, but I'm pretty sure it's top end as well.
Right. I think it's
something to do with the lights of your car?
No, I don't know. I think there's something to do with lights and refraction and shit. I don't fully understand.
Because the ones that I have heard people have seen have come up beside their car or been behind their car and then shot off in front of them.
Right. Seems pretty hard to explain.
It's like they play with you.
That's what's annoying about it is like if there's alien, like let's say it is aliens and not some other thing like a weird cloud we don't understand yet. It's kind of like, why are we being fucked with? Just fucking tell me.
Yeah.
We're living on this. First of all, I don't want to be looking at spreadsheets or thinking about superannuation. Can you come down here, fucking free us from this fucking nightmare where it's like this endless Game of Thrones with nukes and we're all going to kill ourselves soon.
Oh my God.
We're going to nuke ourselves soon. Fucking just give us the answers.
Yeah.
So we can do you know what I mean? So
maybe that's what I'm looking for.
Next time I see an animal documentary where the gazelle's getting eaten by a lion, I'm going to, if I was the film, I'll get up and fucking kick the lion in the head because that would be my alien intervention of compassion or whatever. But yeah, so maybe that's how they see us. They're like, oh, these primitive ants.
Yeah.
What are they? They're going to do the ant. Oh, the ants are going to nuke themselves. Isn't that funny? Like they're not, maybe they're just indifferent. I don't know.
Maybe they're betting on it.
Maybe they fucking making it happen, man. Maybe they are the nukes, dude. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem that there's more. It does seem like there was a thing like years ago, the US military were like, oh yeah, these things are real, rather than sort of dismissing it. They're like, there's something happening. We don't know what it is. So basically the US government's going, oh yeah, these are real. How do we still proceed in modernity? That 2005 Australia?
Move along, yeah.
2005 Australia, where the US was still the world empire and we weren't in this like shift and like it feels like every institution has people, maybe I'm projecting, but I feel like the belief in our institutions as being capable and trustworthy has dropped dramatically across all of the Western world.
Yeah.
And there's such cynicism and hopelessness for it. And there's been such a big letdown. And, this is probably just a cyclical nature of civilizations. But, and then you just throw aliens into that. It's like, fucking talk about that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think the Liberals will keep losing, because I think that the conservative idea of like, well, what's worked, let's preserve it, let's do what's worked. It's not a bad idea. It's not crazy to think that. But it's also like that worldview of 2005 of Australia, like that fucking doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit anymore. Now there's aliens involved. And so Peter Dutton and fucking Tony Abbott, as being like the more right wing of the conservative thing, all right, that they can't bring in aliens. Well, I feel like Albo would probably be like, well, yeah, maybe.
He might.
Oh, I've seen some weird, there's weird
I reckon
reports.
Clive would. Big Clive.
I reckon he was our saviour. I reckon he would have saved us all.
I'm going to get him on the podcast.
I think
I
you
went
should.
to Christmas with him
I
year.
actually have a, you know, I have a, in my house, you know, like the Jesus cross where they have like Jesus on the, I have Clive on the cross because he's my personal Lord and Saviour.
Again, listeners, I can't tell if
No, that's a joke. So wait, you had Christmas with Clive?
Yeah, I've got a
Christmas,
letter.
Christ.
Yes.
An accident? He's the second coming. Aliens were trying to tell us, vote for Clive. That's why they were landing.
I've got a letter on the table behind me that, because he doesn't take emails. He doesn't believe in emails. It's the letter only, handwritten.
That's something that I feel the second coming of Christ would do.
Right. Because I actually rang his mineralogy company and said, what's the best email? Family friend, years ago, Christmas.
What's he like as a dude?
And she said, he doesn't take email. I said, surely. She said, no, he does not believe in email.
That's hilarious. But what's he like as a dude, if you know him?
I don't know him because I would have been about 8 years old.
Oh.
Right? And this is the weird thing about childhood trauma.
Yeah.
I have no memory of this Christmas because my father had just passed away. My brother remembers that Christmas and he's like, he could tell you all the things Clive did or we had at the party. I was like, are you guys sure I was there? Ponies? This sounds amazing. Karaoke?
Yeah, that is a childhood trauma thing.
Large chess pieces on a chessboard. How can I block that out? Yet remember heaps of trauma from below 8.
It's funny that you get to remember the bad shit.
Yeah.
Well, I got a joke in my stand-up about that annoying thing that you don't remember what you want to, like, so in the joke I say on stage, you go, I heard that apparently you never forget your traumatic memories, which is annoying because you always remember, like, you never remember the shit you want to remember. Does anyone here ever forget their Gmail password? And usually people might have moaned and go, yeah. And they go, so I found a hack, right? Because you don't forget your traumatic memories. What you do is you make your traumatic memories your Gmail password and you never forget them. And just be like, oh, she cheated on me with my best friend 69. Like, you'll never forget that password.
Shayne, you're a genius because you know how I set passwords?
What?
When I look at something that's near me and I put that word
you
in
forget
there.
it, right.
Like I had Serenity 11 because I had a candle that was beside me called Serenity. And I like 11.
Well, if anyone's interested, well, I guess your next password's going to be, Father Fire 69 or whatever.
Husband loves.
Husband OnlyFans. Husband loves Shayne's OnlyFans account.
Thank you, Shayne. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast.